Well, I am so excited. This is the very first episode of Finding the You in Mum. It's been ages in my head and now finally we get to enjoy it. And my first guest, I couldn't pick a better person, my old and dear friend, Beck Mack.
I'm so excited that I'm the first cab off the rank. And yeah, what a fantastic conversation and great point to leap off from. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to discover my you and my mum.
Yeah, the funny thing is when I was like trawling through all of the mums that I know that have done wonderful things, and I'm fortunate to have quite a long list in my mind, you just kept bubbling up like at the very top because your career has spanned decades. You've got such an interesting story around motherhood because it's had lots of interesting twists and turns. And just the way you do life is so colourful and, in my opinion, original. So I thought finding the you and mum and just figuring out how you've navigated that terrain, I'm really fascinated to share. But can we start with you just telling us a little bit about your journey, I guess, career and kid-wise, for the last couple of decades?
Yeah, it's been a big story. I'm just quickly thinking a good place to start would be when I met my kid's partner. I was Aphrodite, the goddess of love, and at the time I was interviewing people about love. And I was in Edinburgh at the Fringe Festival, and I'd eyed off this hot actor. The first time I saw him, he was naked in a bed, so I saw his bum before I saw his face.
That's a good way to start.
and then I eventually met him, and I thought, oh my God, this guy is so hot. He's the one for me. And I pursued him, and I got him.
Yes.
And I got him by inviting him into my clam, as you do when you're a goddess, and quizzing him about his love life.
Yes.
It turned out he had three other lovers in the then. I should have known then to turn away.
Warning.
But we were pretty much together ever since then, actually. So we met in Edinburgh, we went to London, I was in Sydney, he was in Melbourne. I ended up moving to Melbourne, and that's when within almost, it was so fast, like we met each other, we got married, I pretty much got pregnant on my wedding night, and we had two babies. They came early in 8 months. So our whole relationship was so fast-tracked.
Whirlwind.
And into not one baby, but two. I was a mother of twins. So it was kind of like a wild, tumultuous journey to get to there. And then that was only the beginning.
Yes, that's the beginning. And I was part of Love TV. You interviewed me one time, years and years ago.
Yes.
The little caravan, the little clam, it was absolutely gorgeous. And it was such a great idea because it was very community orientated even then. And you just had this clever concept, like people love to talk about love, they like to know that romance exists, and you were drawing that out. And I think you interviewed quite a few celebrities along the way too.
Yeah, well, Love TV it's still going, actually.
Yeah.
I've done it for 20 years. Like the actual format of interviewing people about their love lives, but in a public realm. Yet at the same time, the intimacy is real. So people seem to forget that there's thousands of people listening to them talk about
I love it.
how they, what really turns them on, how many orgasms they can have in a night, and what does love really mean to them. Yeah, so it's been, I guess, my vehicle in so many ways too, that I've actually got through finding love, being a mother, having children, and then almost continued to grow as my experience of love grew, it grew.
How beautiful. And so you've also, as well as having the Love TV, you've done lots of other things. Describe just quickly some of the other career journeys that you've had, because even on my watch, I'm like, what's she doing now? Yeah. It's so hard to keep up.
Well, you've got to keep it fresh. Eventually, I think the pinnacle of Love TV was taking it to New York and presenting it around the 5 boroughs with the city of New York. So that was in 2012. And then my marriage broke up, I think, in 2015. So I had to shift gears. Like I had to actually work out what the hell I was going to do now and earn a lot more money than I was.
Yeah.
So I came up with this idea that basically Love TV costs a lot of money. So all I needed was a phone, a mic, and I could go out into the world and interview people about what they're doing at exhibitions and openings, because arts is my realm. And so I started going out to exhibitions and openings and doing live to Facebook feeds of interviews, capturing the moment, who's in the room, what's really happening. And it's such an exciting moment when a show opens or an exhibition, people have their first moment of being in their room with their art and their people. And it was about taking the audience to those moments. I probably interviewed 700 people in that sort of format, and the State Library just purchased 100 of my I reckon, top 100, of which there's many.
Because you've done musicians, artists. It almost became a bit of a phenomenon in Brisbane that you would expect at a colourful, even gala event, you'd pop up.
Yeah.
With your dazzling smile and your little crew. And it was always really very down to earth, and people were it was spontaneous. So some of the interviews that you had were very unexpected. So I really enjoyed that. And so where have you gone from that? You still do that, obviously?
Yeah, so I still do that very special occasions now, you
Yes.
know. VIPs. And then when COVID hit, obviously my business, that died.
Yes.
And then I pivoted again, and with my friend Carmel Hall, we created a project called Chrysalis Projects.
Yes.
And that was about matching arts with small business to make experiences. And we ended up, that was another amazing thing, that we ended up like creating all these incredible projects, including the Vernon Arkey mural that wraps around Avid Reader. Yeah. So that was one of the Chrysalis projects. We worked with Opera Queensland and got opera into the streets and restaurants. So we really cracked open what the arts was in its relationship back to the community, because back in those days it was completely, it didn't exist in its old form. It needed a new form. So Chrysalis Projects was incredible, and then I ran for council.
I know, that I can only imagine that would have been
grueling. You might be a bit like me, Christine. I love to be loved.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, when you run for council, or, you know, you're running for politics, people actually hate you. Well, they think they hate you.
And but they don't even know you.
They don't even know you.
Yes.
And I was saying the exact same things and did the exact same things I did in my previous life, but all of a sudden with that political frame or lens around it, you were like the villain, the enemy. It was shocking. But from that, I learnt a lot about policy and how crucial actual changing of policies in government actually, and building laws around legislation, is how you make real change.
Absolutely. And I think that even the fact you dipped your toe in has probably taught you so much, so that you can still, because you're an activist.
Yes.
It runs through your veins. And so I guess with this knowledge, it wasn't all for nothing, because now this information, you'll be able to weave in all of your projects, because you know that there's a whole lot of administrative side to actually make societal changes, and we need to. And I guess that leaves us with the most exciting thing that I know that you're doing right now, the Churchill. Yeah,
so I guess from when I ran for council, one of my big things was around how to make a safer city for women and marginalised people. And the solution was a nighttime economy that's vibrant and active, in arts and culture are key to that. So my Churchill Fellowship is the intersection between nighttime economy, arts and culture, and how it makes a safer place for women and marginalised communities, and therefore everyone.
Yes.
And it's crazy. It's most embarrassing. So I'm going to LA, New York, London, Paris, Amsterdam, and Berlin to see how it's being done
already
all around the world, bringing back that information and saying, okay, this is what we need to look at. This is what we need to change. This is what we need to adapt. And that's going to make it a better place for everyone.
Oh, I just love it. And congratulations. I think you deserve it, and I think you're going to do really good things with it.
Thank you.
Because often you hear about the Churchill Fellowships and you think, where does this information end up in terms of change?
Yes.
And as soon as I'd read that you'd successfully won the fellowship, I thought, you will harness change, and Brisbane is lucky to have you, because we'll be hopefully the bunny rabbits that get the tests. So let's just now look at, now that we've got a good understanding of your orientation to how you live life when you're not focusing on being a mum, I want to ask you some questions. I want to know how it has affected you becoming a mum, and I think you've allowed us a couple of questions we can ask in particular. And the first one is, how has becoming a mum reshaped your sense of self?
I remember, Christine, when I had my babies, and because they were early, they were twins, breastfeeding was a massive task. I remember one day being on the couch for 16 hours, literally, because you had to feed a baby and then feed another baby and then top up a baby, then top up another baby, and then go in like a cow, the double pump, boom, 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 boom. And it was phenomenal. And then 3 hours later, do it again. So, and then through the night.
So
it was insane.
Other unpaid work.
And I think there must be something about breastfeeding, and particularly because I was literally creating so much milk that you just go into this other twilight zone where you can do that stuff.
Yes.
Like you wouldn't never, ever, I can't even sit still for a minute now, let alone hour upon
hour of just doing it. It's almost like a meditative state you've got to find yourself in, isn't it? Because otherwise, and that was one of my challenges, I was so antsy when I was breastfeeding. I was like, okay, instead of enjoying it more, I was really, my mind was still in that mode of doing things, and it took a little while to remind myself that I am doing something.
Yeah, that's it. And I remember, because it was so intense, two at once, like I could have no music, no TV. Like everything started to irritate me, so I just had to just literally be there and feed. But I also remember feeling like a bird shot out of the sky and lying in a like wounded, immobilized, and just not knowing what the hell had happened to my life. Because literally, as I said at the start, I was Aphrodite, the goddess of love, traveling the world, inviting everyone into my clam, talking about love. And then it seemed to happen really fast. All of a sudden, I was married, I was pregnant, I had 2 babies, they were little, and I was like alone, wounded.
That alone piece is interesting too.
Yeah.
Did you find, even though you suddenly had lots of company, you had little newborns, how did you find that experience when you're used to being out? And I know you're a very gregarious person, you're very social by nature. I imagine you'd spark up a conversation with like passerbyers in the street. Yeah. How did you find that experience?
I was shocked because I was living in Melbourne at the time. My family was up here and I just moved to Melbourne. So I did build some really incredible relationships with other women, and particularly other women who are artists, and we ended up doing projects together. But at the time, it was really isolating, and I couldn't quite get into mothers' groups because I could not cope with everyone whinging about their one child.
Yes.
And I don't know, there's something that happens to you when you're a mum. Like, I just would sit there going, how can you be complaining and feeling tired? You've got 1? I've got 2. I cannot be in the room with any of you whingers. I'm not coming back.
I know, and it's really hard, isn't it? And our mothers groups I know it's a godsend for a lot of people, but there is that dynamic where it's people that don't have anything really in common except that they've just got kids at this particular age.
Yeah.
But I know that a lot of people just have made lifelong friends.
Exactly.
It didn't really happen for me either. So moving on, so what was a dream or passion that you've quietly held on to, even if it feels like impossible to pursue right now?
I think I'm here, Christine. Because my kids are 20 now, and I am re-embarking on connecting with the world again, like the globe.
You're
like
awake.
I've always wanted to be an international art star.
Well, hello.
And now I'm going to be one. So that's always been one of my goals. And I think having kids, having twins, one with a disability, lots of challenges, lots of blocks, marriage breaking up, single mum, it's been hard, but I've never given up on the dream. And I've never stopped creating, and I've never stopped being innovative, and I've never gone, oh, that's it, I'm giving up, ever.
So tell me, because this is really important, and I think that's amazing too, because there would have been so many junctures. The breakup, it would have been just like, now my other person that we created this story is now going to be different in my world.
Yes.
All of that would be enough to sort of almost defeat someone. What was it that allowed you just to dust yourself off enough to, even if I can't actualize some of this stuff right now, it's not dead and forgotten?
When Alex got diagnosed with tuberous sclerosis, which is a genetic disorder, which at 10 months, they were having up to 50 seizures a day. It was insane. You can't even imagine it. It's terrifying, like just horrifying. And all the information was, this is going to create basically brain damage because it blocks the pathways to learning and understanding language, the whole thing. And we were fortunate enough to be in this pioneer stage of brain surgery. And Alex had brain surgery at age 2 and age 3. And it was successful in that it stopped the seizures.
Yes.
And they didn't talk till they were 4 or 5, but now they're amazing, you know. It was crazy. The whole thing was really insane. I just used to think, I actually don't want to be a better person. I actually don't need to be a better person. Just give my easy, simple, straightforward life. I'm happy. I don't freaking want to be a better person if this is what it takes.
Books, okay? I'll do other things. I'll climb some hard, like mountain peaks like this.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was it was the worst time of my life.
But you still maintain that identity in terms of, you know, you had dreams, aspirations, you are an ambitious person by nature.
Yes.
It had to be massively put on hold. What was the secret?
I think it was believing I was not going to become this. I was not going to become the destroyed mother because their child has a disability. I was not going to become the poor, sad old wife stuck at home because her partner left her for someone else. I wasn't going to become these other things that I possibly could have. And it actually fueled me to actually go the other way. Like, I was going to become the best person I could, the best mum I was going to become, and I was going to do the work I was born to do. I was not going to give up on that dream. And I think that always being creative and driving my own boat is what kept me alive.
You had to be innovative, and you had to always be a self-starter. You didn't have someone else guiding you necessarily vocationally.
No.
So when you were given this new role of mother and then thrown curveballs that most people don't even consider as options, you did it with grace and you didn't give up. And there would have been days where you just wanted to pull the covers over your head, no doubt.
And I can't tell you how much good hair is great.
Oh, you've got good hair.
No, but you've got to go to the hairdresser.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
It's crucial.
I was looking at your hair today and thinking, God, I've got to get layers.
But even back then I had to go to the hairdresser. I had to, I used to think it's as easy to put on a pair of tracky dacks as it is a great frock.
Absolutely.
So it's an action. So I'm going to put on that great frock any day over those tracky dacks.
Yeah. And the psychology behind it is resounding. I remember one of my little hacks when I was drowning in motherhood was whenever I had to do housework, I used to wear the most gorgeous, sexiest little 1960s style night dress that I had a weird collection of because I loved op shopping.
Yeah.
And it was always scaled how much I was dreading the housework would be how over the top. the feathers.
I love that.
Yeah. And I used to I sometimes forget to take it off after the housework or chore was done and just spend the rest of the day if I had to be at home in this over-the-top 1960s. Yeah, and I guess it's the same sort of thing.
Is that why you made 5 babies?
It might have helped a little bit. Dave was getting mixed messages the whole time. Okay, what's the most shocking truth about motherhood that no one prepared you for and now it has really shaped your sense of self?
I think, what is it? I think it's kind of like, it is such hard work. It is unrelenting. We know that. But once you're in the mix of it, it's actually not unbearable, but it's not glamorous. And often you don't want to be there. You know, you don't instantly become a mum and go, this is me. I love this life. I love my children. I love this. Wasn't like that for me. It was like, geez, this is hard. And I didn't really want to sign up for this. This is too hard. So I think the challenges of motherhood are way beyond what you can ever imagine. And no one's ever going to tell you because no one will ever do it again.
That's right. And I have people saying to me, why didn't you warn me? And I'm like, well, firstly, it's different for everybody. And secondly, what would be the point if you're already embracing it? And I don't want to put ideas, because it's such an individual thing. Some people don't experience it as arduous as we did, and perhaps for lots of really wonderful reasons. But yeah, it's funny how the experience unexpected does allow you to be, I guess, as much as a cliche, a better person, because you've endured all this stuff. You've had to put all these other things aside and still find happiness in the day.
Yes, exactly.
So that's great. And so how do you manage the mental load of balancing work, family and personal time? What strategies help you feel less overwhelmed?
I run every morning, and I've done it since I was 25 years old, and even when the babies were young, kind of newborn, in the pram, out in the morning. And even now, I just remember it was just this 1 hour a day, which people could, it was like the world, particularly when it was really hard, when Alex was really sick or the marriage broke up or other things were happening. It's like it built this sort of gap between this life and me.
It was the conduit. It was the thing that was consistent, the thread.
Yeah, and space to think, space to dream, space to feel. And then once I come back, I'm here. I can be your mum.
So you still run every day?
Yeah, I love it. I'm never going to give that up.
When you're abroad, when you're
all the time,
you just always carry your running shoes.
Yeah, well, it means you can see a town in a different way. Like I just ran around Gladstone, I ran around Billa. I was just in a state.
That would have been brief.
A great way to stay fit, but also a great way to clear your mind. But when you're travelling, the best way to see a place.
Oh, I love it. It makes me want to go run, except for the fact that I don't like running. But I like brisk walking.
Yeah,
so
well, that's the same.
The same sort of thing. So when I say the statement, finding the you in mum, what does it actually mean to you?
Well, I think that's a very interesting idea. And I hadn't thought about it until you brought this up. But I think for me, it's actually have, at this age, a genuine relationship with my children in which they see me for who I am with all my bits and pieces. I think there's this weird thing, well, and it's sort of an age thing, isn't it? That early on, like, you're incredible. Well, first of all, your boobs, and then you're this other being that's just so benevolent and will give your children everything, and that's how your children perceive you.
And understand you, yes.
And understand you, and as they get older, that sort of starts to fracture a little bit until now when they're 20. I'm great friends with my kids, and that's the you for me and mum, is that at this age, we're all very connected. We all love each other very much, but they love me for who I really am, not a perception or an illusion or some ideal that I've been trying to build around me.
And also, I guess it's very transactional when they're young. And so
Yes.
they love and adore you because you're doing all the things to facilitate their great life. But it is really lovely when they're adults and you've clearly done your job well, because they do circle back and they're like, hang on, I'm actually interested in you.
Yes.
I want to pull back the curtain. And so you've really taken it from an interesting angle there. It's not so much a deep dive into yourself. It's the observation that your kids are ready to see you.
Yes.
And not just as the mother role. I love that as an idea. And I must say, I'm experiencing the same.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's quite funny because when they become adults, I'm like, okay, let's go for a coffee. I went paddleboarding with one of them and said, ask me some questions.
Yeah.
You're an adult now. I'll answer the questions because I'm not needing to necessarily buffer you from the life I've had or try to set good examples. I can just be an adult with you now when I think they're ready. And it's quite lovely because there's a real new bond that comes with it. And I don't mind shocking them a little bit.
Yeah, I
Bit of
bet you
shock.
don't.
Yeah, they're like, you didn't. I'm like, yeah, I did twice.
But you don't want to tell them too early because then it's like
No.
you give them permission to misbehave.
Trust me. No, not everyone, when they hit 18, it's not their rite of passage. It's like, okay, you're ready, let's go paddleboarding and sit on the paddleboard together where you can't escape.
I love that.
Okay, so what is your opinion on mother guilt? Okay, is it something that we should be trying to dismantle, or is it just an inevitable part of motherhood?
I think mother guilt is a shocking state of mind to be in. I've been through it. I think we all have. And I think there's something that happens, and this could be taken as a sexist statement, that when women become mothers, they really judge each other harshly. It's so weird. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I think with the mother guilt thing, it's never feeling, it feeds off already your inadequacies about yourself that you already perceive. And, you know, and then so therefore there's this other layer that you fell short here and now you're falling short here. And, you know, I'm so stretched. How can I do everything? And now my children are suffering. You know, it's all that stuff. So I think it actually comes up when you're really tired and you've just got too much on your plate is when I start feeling guilty.
Yeah, and I think you've brought up a really valid point there. It's not like it's self-generating necessarily. If you're on an island bringing your kids up and no one was witnessing, perhaps you wouldn't have the mother guilt. It's when you feel there's onlookers that are judging you. Yes. And then that sort of opinion that you feel that they're holding then breeds this guilt.
Yes.
So maybe if we didn't buy into that in any way, like we didn't perpetuate it by making other mothers feel less than because of the choices they're making. Yeah. But also we steady ourselves so that we don't let it penetrate us.
Yeah. And I think it was a bit like being in mothers groups. Like when people bang on about how amazing their children are and their achievements and they're doing this and they're doing that, I actually don't care. Yeah. I actually don't care. Like let's just have a normal conversation. And I think that's also from a parent having a kid with a disability. Like they're never going to, like, it's a different realm that you're existing in. Yes. And those extraordinary outcomes aren't going to happen, but they're happening in a different way. And I think we just need to frame potentially differently I'm happy for other people's kids to do well, but don't use it as a way to make yourself feel better. I guess because it's not working with me.
Well, it's also circling back to my whole concept of finding the you in mum. Yeah. When mums do that, I feel like they're trying to make an extension of themselves via their kids' achievements. Yes. And I think you don't need to outsource it. You're enough.
Exactly.
And by you wanting accolades for your kids' achievement vicariously, maybe looking for some sort of recognition yourself. And I agree with you. I feel like the healthier way is let them be amazing, but you don't need to be showcasing it for everybody because it's probably not even that great for the kid
Yeah.
to be hearing how wonderful they are 24/7.
Yes.
Yeah, my kids never have to worry about that. So this is again the same sort of theme. It's like, what do you believe in terms of the concept of super mum? Is it empowering, or does it place unnecessary pressures?
I think it's a joke. I don't think there's anything such thing as a super mum.
Yes.
Like, I think...
Or we all are.
Because, yeah, well, we all are. Exactly. We all are. I think that's really true. And I think, yeah, just being a mum is super. You've got to be superhuman. I remember when I first had my babies, like, my hair is big, but it grew massive. And my nails grew really long. And I remember being up at night and feeding babies, and I felt like, wow, I am actually supernatural now. Like, I actually made 2 babies. I'm feeding them with my own milk. I'm up all night just growing this long hair and nails and doing all these amazing things. Like,
I'll go forage in the woods for a week, I reckon.
Exactly. I think you can just, the fact you can keep going no matter what against all odds and get your kids through the hard times is proof that you're superhuman.
Yep, and I agree with you, and I think you're a pretty super mum.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And so are you.
Thank you.
So are all of you.
True. It is true. So what's a decision that you've made as a mum that others may have disagreed with, but you knew it was right for you and your family?
I think when I went to New York in 2012, my kids were like, I think 9 years old, and I went for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was very hard.
Yes.
Very hard because they were so little and I'd been away for a long time. I felt really guilty then, and I felt like some people probably judged me on that, to leave 2 little kids at that age to pursue, you know.
But they were left with their dad, right?
Yeah.
The other parent.
Yes, the other parent. But I think there was some, that was probably one of the biggest things that I did that went against the grain of what everyone thinks people should be doing as parents.
Yes, and I think that, again, the father needs to go on a business trip or do something for an extended period of time. It's almost like acceptable, even if it's not work-related. So I guess that's maybe a shift that, as a society, we hope to maybe move over time. Maybe you can create a policy a bit more about paternity leave and get it more on the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
How's your relationship with your partner, friends and family evolved since becoming a mother?
I think my relationship back to my own parents got stronger. All my siblings, except for one, have had children now, so we relate to each other in a different way. I now have a new partner who I love dearly.
Yes.
And he's got 3 kids. So I wouldn't say I'm a stepmom. Like, that's not where we sit. But I definitely love that opportunity to know these 3 other great adults who are part of my life now.
Yes.
And I think with my own friends, I've made so many great friends through my kids. Like primary school, we went to the local school, and most of my good mates I met there because I moved back to Brisbane. I got friends in different cities, but my really close mates now are my buddies I met through school and through our kids. So I think it's been such a valuable experience in that way.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. And I think I say to people, if you're a bit sparse on friends and they've got like a little kid or something, I think just wait.
Yeah.
When they go to school, it's like smorgasbord.
Yes.
There's lots of options if you want to seek it out, and if you've got to be a bit thick-skinned. It's not for the faint-hearted, but there's lots of women that are at that point in life where they're craving connection, and their kids are a bit older and they've got more in common than just newborn mothers group because they've got the demographic, and you've got opportunities to incidentally bump into each other on high rotation with school drop-offs and P&F meetings.
Yeah.
And it allows this gentle bond that I don't know if there's lots of dynamics in one's life that is so ripe for making friends.
I agree. And the women I made friends with and the men, like, we would do the art auction and run the barbecue at the movie night, and I would MC all the events. So I think we had flexible work time, so we could afford to volunteer. And I think that made a big difference as well.
And I think that probably taps into your sort of desire to be that very proactive activist in the community. Yeah. And I doubt you would have done any of it by halves. It's like Beck now on that committee. It's like the committee's never really looked like that before. Now, just as a final wrap up, and this is like, I guess, a mandatory question for everybody on this podcast. What is one small actionable tip a mum can take today to stay connected with herself?
I think I write every morning, and this, a lot of people say this, just morning journaling, when you remember, don't put a rule on it and feel like you haven't done the right thing, but just that time just to take out and just to write your feelings and thoughts down on a piece of paper actually is the best way for me to connect with myself. And then being a Virgo, I make a list. And then I cross them off.
Feeling good
and that's
already.
where it gets sexy.
Winning. Look, thanks so much for coming on the show and being my first person, Beck. I can't think of a better person to have selected as my inaugural mum. And I hope we get to have you back on the show again too.
Yeah, and congratulations. What a great idea. This is fantastic. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Yay.